Hey everyone, it's Richard Payne here from Halifax Homes and Lifestyles, EXP Realty, and of course,
Andrew Hutchison from Mortgage Architects, and today we have some fun surveys out of BMO that we're going to talk about. So let's get into it, I guess.
market sentiment.
Yes. All right. Okay, so we're going to dive into some interesting insights, as I was mentioned, from a recent BMO survey, and it's shedding light on home ownership aspirations in Canada. So they did a survey, and they found out that 72% of those surveyed in Canada are waiting until interest rates drop before they buy homes.
72%, that's a lot.
72%. That's very high.
Yeah.
And with that anticipation of interest rates dropping this year, later towards the end of the year, and that date seems to be getting pushed out every time the Bank of Canada meets. And so that timeline just keeps getting pushed out. But I thought that was a very interesting stat because the large majority of people that they're talking to are saying, we're going to wait, we're uncertain of where the interest rate environment is going to go, and we don't really have a timeline, really a hard timeline on when those rates will start to drop.
Well, it's all tied into inflation.
Yes.
So it's when inflation is under control and we as the government feel that we have a better handle on inflation, then we will start talking about interest rates. Not dropping them, not increasing them, just talking about them.
And interest rates they've been declining consistently for a while now, and it got down to 2.8, and the last meeting that they held, it actually has gone up to 2.9. Now that doesn't seem significant, it's 0.1 difference, but it is a trend in the wrong direction, which then brings this uncertainty to what is actually about to come when we thought it was going to continually go down, which is going to lead to rate decreases.
Yeah, and that's the one thing when we start looking from the uncertainty of this kind of stuff, and then you start looking at, well, how is our market performing? That's when you kind of go, okay, this is going to start getting interesting, because if we have this many people sitting on the sidelines feeling uncertain, and we all know that in the world of a confused mind, if it's in any doubt, a confused mind, it will just say, do nothing.
Yeah.
It's the status quo.
Yeah.
So that's really what is kind of like when we look at the interest rates, we look at confused people saying no. This is literally just creating a little bit of a tidal wave for at some stage in the future when interest rates do change, it feels like 72% of people are going to go, oh, well, if that's what's happened, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to get off the fence and here I go.
Yeah.
And then we are in for a little bit of a tidal wave, and we are back to that kind of 2020 time when it's multiple offers on every house. It's like, how much are you willing to go to over asking price to actually get the property? And it's just going to be a little bit of a tsunami.
Yeah. The word that they're using here is that these Canadians are feeling financial anxiety, and I think that's around a lot of things, not just interest rates, but the caveat here is once interest rates drop, I'm going to feel much better about jumping into the market. And if all of a sudden we have all these people standing on the edge of the pool waiting for that interest rate to drop and that lifeguard to blow their whistle to say, okay, now you can buy, and everyone jumps in at the same time, the demand on the market is going to be so great that, as you mentioned, the competing offers are going to drive the prices up. That pool water is going to go up and overflow. And so the question here is, should people wait or should people buy? Is that a good reason to wait? And is there a way around that financial anxiety? And is right now a better time, or is it better to wait for interest rates to drop?
Well, just because we're here in May rather, we've already done the April stats, and that will have been out for about a week, so you can go back and look at that video and get all the information, because April was like the first month that when I looked at it, I was like, it felt busy, and the numbers show that it's busy, because we listed just over 600 houses, new houses onto the market that had never been listed for sale before. So this isn't new construction, this is just putting houses up for sale. Something like, I think it was 690 something houses. In March, that was only 300. So we doubled in April the amount of houses that we put up for sale. Now, inventory months on market didn't really change. It actually went from 2.1 months down to 1.8 months. And the reason is we sold more houses. So we also sold about 15% more than we did in April compared to March. So we actually ate into some of the inventory. The third thing, the little trifecta then, is price increase from March to April was 14%. So our average at the end of April was 637, something like that. I can't remember the exact number. And we also had, of the 400 that were sold, we had over 30 that were well north of $1 million that sold. So when you look at consumer confidence to buy $1 million plus house with a mortgage that comes with that is kind of like confusing then when you look at this 72% number.
Right. Yeah, and I think that 72% too, it'd be interesting to see how many of those are first-time home buyers versus people upgrading versus people downgrading. Yeah. But I agree, and I think the big thing to think about here is if it's the financial anxiety that's holding people back, really understanding your numbers, meet with someone, meet with your bank, meet with a mortgage broker, understand what the price of a home looks like at today's interest rate, at today's purchase price, versus maybe if in a year's time when those rates come down, what would a purchase price look like then with those new interest rates? And you can play some hypotheticals and see actually, is it worth waiting or is it worth building equity and getting into the market now? You know, you marry the house and you date the rate. So if buying a house at a better deal is going to put you financially further, then maybe waiting isn't the best. But really, that financial anxiety, I think, is going to come from understanding those numbers. And here's the kicker. The Bank of Canada, the rate announcements that they meet about it and talk, and this is what always catches the headlines, is the Bank of Canada going to lower rates? Yeah. We're only talking about variable rates. True. We're not talking about fixed rates. Yeah. So the metric that people are waiting to decide on is actually based on a variable rate, which a very large portion of the population isn't even taking.
Yeah, they're not interested.
Yeah, so really understanding what product they're talking about and the product that is holding people back isn't even the product that they are going to use. Now, that being said, fixed rates are, I'm not going to say in a higher rate environment, they are compared to the last few years coming out of COVID where we were at all-time lows, but compared to 30 years ago when you were in a 16 or 17% interest, they're actually quite low. But also back then, a house was 2 or 3 times your salary, and now it's 4, 5, 6 times your salary. Yeah. So very different circumstances. So really, at a 5%, or we're giving rates out that in the 4s. Yep. Those are historically good rates. So understanding your situation and ways around that to get a better deal in your house could put you financially further than waiting for interest rates to drop and having that confirmation bias that you have the best rate on the market. You're not marrying the rate, you're marrying the house, you're dating the rate.
And the big thing when you start looking at when's the right time to get into the market, it's always better to be sooner into any kind of a market, especially when you look at the rates, because our fingers crossed is, I think everybody's kind of realized June's not really going to happen, but towards the back end of the year, if they start dropping then, and we do get this little tidal wave and rush of buyers, prices will go up, and then what you could have bought today for an average of $630, you're now paying more like $700. And that's really going to make sure that you're ready. You've spoke to the mortgage broker, you've got a plan, you've found the areas, you've looked at some houses to make sure that it's feasible, and then of course you have to get and go and start taking the action. And we know that, I think we've been part personally of, in the last 2 weeks, 4 different multiple offer situations, 1 on the listing side and 3 on the buying side. So multiple offers are back. The whole realtors saying all offers in by Sunday at 5 p.m., leave them open until Monday 11 a.m., that is back. Absolutely, we are back heading into that path, which tells you there's confidence with the realtors and the sellers that they have got, number 1, a good product, number 2, a good price, number 3, a good location. You get those 3 together, and we are right back in it.
And we're not in a lowering interest rate environment, and there's competition. So when those rates drop, everyone's going to be running and trying to get into the game, and you already want to be in the game at that point, is my belief. I'll ask you this question. If you could buy now for, I think your example was $600 at a 5% interest rate, or you could buy in a year from now at $700 at, let's say, a high 3% interest, 3.8.
I'd go now.
Right?
I don't want the competition.
Yeah.
I want to find the house, I want to move in, and I want to enjoy it.
And there's strategies, right? You can take short-term loans, short-term mortgages.
You go 3-year fixed.
3-year fixed, variable rate. There's other options out there to have a shorter term, so when rates come down, you can still take advantage of those lower rates, but getting in, taking mortgages out of it completely, getting in the market sooner is going to, as you mentioned, is going to win in the long run with that equity gain year over year.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest message we're kind of driving home with everybody, is the message for the buyers is don't wait, because there is a little tsunami of buyers coming. It's just a question of what's going to trigger them. We've already seen a little bit in April, so like get ahead of that wave. And then for the sellers, the biggest thing is we need you to start selling. We need you to put your houses on the market so that these people have options and they have choices to then go out and actually buy. Because, you know, especially if we've been dealing with a first-time home buyer in the 400s, it's been pretty shocking what we've actually had a look for at 400 that has actually been sold as well. And her only option was to start going, well, okay, I won't be within 15, 20 minutes of Halifax. I'll be within 45 minutes of Halifax. And then we found a great place, and we're hopefully removing conditions today.
Yeah.
So it's the trick for price is the trade-off is distance.
Yeah.
Like if you have a budget that you can't really push, you are going to have to just understand that there's going to be things you have to kind of start compromising on. One of them is going to be distance. The second one is, can you get something that you can actually put some sweat equity in over the next 2 to 5 to 7 years, whatever it may be. Do some fixing up as and when you got the money, and then you can enjoy it then. So that's the hard thing. And then, the mortgage rate is, you just got to look at what your best option is, get advice from the best mortgage broker you can, and then say, well, okay, but this can be short term. Can I do a 3-year fixed? And ride it out for a little bit, knowing that it's fixed? Because that's the other thing, 72% of people are slightly confused as to what they want to do with mortgage rates. Once I fix it, that's your number. You're done. Same number, month in, month out, for 3 years, or whatever you take as a fixed.
So if you are one of the 72% of Canadians out there that have financial anxiety, that is you, is most likely because you have questions and you don't have answers to those questions. I always say this is not anything that's taught in school. You don't know it, and you're not ill-informed. It's just it's not taught. So if you have questions, reach out to a mortgage broker, reach out to your bank, ask these questions, get to know where rates are at, what it would cost to get into a home, but more importantly, understand that the dream of becoming a homeowner or upgrading, it's a reality. It's just that the headlines and the confusion and all of the noise that the media pushes on interest rates. We're not in a historic high interest rate environment.
Not even close.
But our housing market is going to continue to increase, especially once those rates come down. So I would rather be a person who said, oh, I bought a house on ABC Street for $600,000 in 2024 and I had a 5% interest rate, than be the person who said, I bought a house on ABC Street for $700,000, but I got a 3% interest rate. So
if you play with the numbers in like a mortgage calculator, you work out what the difference is. Paying more money at a lower interest rate is going to cost you more money than if you got into the market in the next 2, 3, 4 months before that all happens. So you just play with the numbers, but the biggest thing is get financially educated. You know, like finding the right house in the right area and all those kind of things is not actually incredibly difficult. You just have to have a bit of patience sometimes. But knowing that you are financially set up and you've had those smart conversations before you decide to do something, that's what pays dividends. That's what's a smart decision to make. There you go. So all our contact details down below. We're more than happy to meet you in Second Cup and actually have a coffee, because we're here quite often. So if you want to arrange that and actually sit down with Andrew and have a chat to all the financial options that are available, his contact details are down below. And then when you're ready to go and buy houses, my contact details are down below. So in the meantime, we will chat to you real soon.
Cheers.